Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, podcasts everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, and talklawradio.com. Please do me a favor and go to YouTube and search for Talk Law Radio and click the subscribe button. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers, and the reason is because YouTube has a rule that you cannot live stream unless you have 1,000 subscribers. I don't know how they came up with that rule. I'm just trying to follow it, and you can help me. Thank you in advance. Today I'm talking about highlights from 2023, previous episodes that I'd like for you to remember because it has an important legal issue or it's a notable guest. And I was just talking about the Bruen case, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen, which was a Second Amendment constitutional case that found that we have the right to keep and bear arms outside of the home, and we can keep it in our pocket if we want to. So I talked about that on August 12th, 2023 and August 13th. I also want to mention, if you're just now tuning in, that I'm going to give away 3 books today. All you have to do is call the radio station and give your name and where you're listening from and your phone number so that I can get your address to mail you one of these books. So there's Arnold Schwarzenegger's book called Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life. Have The Lost Gospel. And I have a book by Matthew Perry called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I'll give you a book just by calling in. Call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867. I did a lot of constitutional law this year. There was a lot of Supreme Court cases that were interesting, like the Second Amendment and also free speech. So on October 15th, I talked again about Missouri versus Biden, which was a court case that found that Biden's federal government was suppressing speech, and it was just a really interesting case. Suppressing speech through social media, and you don't want that. The next time I talked about a constitutional law provision was on October 21st, 2023. The question was, is protesting for terror protected by the First Amendment? And the answer is we think yes, that you can go to a protest and you won't be deemed to be a terrorist yourself, but once you start giving money to a terrorist organization like Hamas, then you can be prosecuted for being a terrorist and supporting a terrorist organization. During that episode, I interviewed St. Mary's professor, Dr. Jeffrey Adicott. He was a terrific guest. If you're interested in learning more about the terror that Hamas perpetrated on the state of Israel, search for that episode, October 21st, 2023. Next, I talked about the Second Amendment again on October 22nd. Talked about the court case Mock versus Garland, and that was interesting. And then finally, just on Christmas Eve, I talked about Cox versus State of Texas, which was a case where a pregnant lady wanted to have an abortion here in Texas and challenged the Texas abortion law. The court found that her challenge failed, and so she left the state of Texas to have her abortion somewhere else. I talked a lot about business law. Marquardt Law Firm focuses on business and estate law, and they sponsor today's show. And so I talk about business law because I started my first business with a friend when I was 16, I think. We started a lawn care company. We were an informal partnership, and I just became interested in having my own business. So in 2009, I started my own law firm, and now we have 3 other full-time attorneys and 1 part-time attorney. We have about 8 support staff, and we focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans, new businesses and old businesses which might have issues with corporations, contracts, LLCs, family limited partnerships, and we can represent those who are facing problems due to lack of planning, like in county court, probate court, or district court. Talked about succession and exit planning for businesses with Jim Urban on February 18th, 2023. So if you're interested in succession planning for your business, search for that on podcasts, Facebook, or YouTube. On March 11th, 2023, I talked with attorney Ed Marvin about patent law and franchises. That was a very interesting episode. A notable guest that talked about business was Sandy Gennaro. He was the drummer for Cyndi Lauper, and he wrote a book called Beat the Odds in Business and Life. Talked with him via Zoom on May 27th, 2023. That was a really fun episode. You should definitely check that one out. Search for it on YouTube. It's really good. And then on September 2nd, 2023, I talked with Amy Childs about making better business decisions. This is for those who feel like your business is always in the danger zone. Do you lie awake at night wondering how to grow your business when there's so much uncertainty with the economy, politics, labor market, cash flow, operations, employee productivity, and customers? Check out that episode, September 2nd, 2023. Then September 3rd, September 9th, and September 17th, I kept talking about business law, and those episodes are about the business life cycle, the business judgment rule, business risk, and those are all good episodes to listen to if you own and operate a business, or if you're a C-suite level executive or an officer of a company and you want to know more about how to limit your liability or protect your own assets. Then on October 7th, 2023, I talked about some updates to the Texas business law, and you should look that up as well if you have a business. So that's about a whole month of business law. You could learn a lot about business law in a couple of hours if you listen to those podcasts or watch those videos. Reminding you, just in case you got in the car, I'm giving away 3 books today. Mark, did that last caller say which book they wanted? So you can get one of these books by Arnold Schwarzenegger called Be Useful, The Lost Gospel, or Matthew Perry's book called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. You know, he passed away recently, tragically. He had some issues going on. You can call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867 if you want a book. I just want to know what your name is, where you're calling from, and your phone number so I can call you to mail you one of those books. Some of our notable guests, I mentioned Sandy Gennaro. He was one of my favorites because he talked about music business law, and that was just kind of fun. Remember Hector Signs with Liberty Tax. He's one of our sponsors, and in February we talked with him about filing an income tax return because people were preparing for the April 15th, 2023. And then I talked with him again in October to talk about year-end tax planning. If you have any questions, I suggest you look up Hector Signs with Liberty Tax. Another noteworthy episode was with attorney Nathan Surprise. He's a personal injury attorney, and we talked with him about the personal injury lawsuit by the optometrist against Gwyneth Paltrow. It was just a fun episode. Other good episodes about criminal law was the episode with Judge Ron Rangel, district judge here in San Antonio, and then also a separate episode about criminal law with Assistant District Attorney Darrell Harris. We talked with him about the Civil Rights Division. And what was funny for me is when I asked him who his favorite superhero was, and if we could, if Batman could be prosecuted for his antics. So it was just funny. I had Adam Turcotte back. He's a notable guest, gunsmith, and I always like to talk with him about the Second Amendment. And we talked about real estate with two realtors, Corey Flores. She's a residential realtor. Talked to her about some historic homes and some of the unique issues related to buying and selling historic homes. And then I talked with Scott McMurrian later in the year, who's a commercial realtor. Talked with him about leasing, tenant leasing. And so those are some notable guests. Well, if you're tuning in today, it's December 30th. I'm live on the air, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in San Antonio as far as celebrating the new year. The kids can celebrate the new year. This was kind of fun at the Museum. What they do is they have a kids countdown from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So this is 10 a.m. in the morning, December 31st, tomorrow, to 1 p.m. And they do a countdown to the noon year with food, face painting, activities, and a magical moon drop. Tickets are $25 for adults and kids. So search the internet to find that. Something else you can help me with, in addition to subscribing to the YouTube channel, is I'd like to do more law and gospel. I like to talk about law and gospel with pastors, but you can define pastor very broadly. I just need somebody who knows enough theology that it's going to make for a good episode. And I let the pastor talk about what the Bible says, and then I talk about what some aspect of state or federal law is that's related. Some examples would be divorce, family law, or immigration, business law. I'm looking to talk about the relationship between employers and employees. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.